Hey everybody, David Chatham here with Angel Oak Creative. We're here for the next episode of our Nonprofit State of Minds podcast. We are excited about this, our first year doing this podcast, and we've had some amazing guests, and that continues today with Jalah Clayton. She is director, and get a hold of this title, folks, but Director of Innovation and Capacity Building at CareShare Health Alliance. So welcome, Jalah.
Yes, thank you to have me on. Hello, everyone. Good
Yeah,
to be
grateful for
here.
you to be here. I'm a big fan of CareShare Health Alliance. I first got engaged with you all a couple of years ago, just learning about you all, and have been a fan ever since. So thank you for all the work that you do. Trying to bring healthcare to underserved and under respected populations even, right? So
Mhm.
grateful for that work. I'd love to hear, kind of have you in your own words, kind of tell us what the CareShare Health Alliance is, what you all do, and
Mhm.
your mission, your vision, that sort of thing. Would love to have you share that with the audience
Yeah,
here.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I will, before I get into CareShare too much, I will shout out Angel Oak as well. I think a brand video that you all made in partnership with CareShare was actually one of the first things that I saw to like interest me in the
Oh,
organization and
neat.
yeah, help me to be interested to apply. So
Well, awesome.
yeah, shout out to Angel Oak
Well, thank you. We appreciate
also.
that.
And
We're
yeah,
grateful for
yeah,
it.
definitely great friends and partners of CareShare. But again, to your question, our mission at CareShare Health Alliance is collaborating for health equity, and our vision is that communities are committed to health equity for all. And actually, also too, within my time in being a part of the organization, we've also undergone an entirely new strategic plan. So we are definitely keeping that mission and vision at our heart and center of our work, but also thinking about what has shifted in our work and where our new strategic priorities and objectives lie, and how our mission and vision can, how the heart of the organization can continue with that work. So that might look like some revisions to the mission and vision
Sure.
in potentially the next couple of years. But yeah, it's definitely been an exciting time just thinking about, how do we marry the past history of CareShare with our work with donated care networks, our work with healthcare access, and really getting communities connected, underserved and underrepresented communities connected to coverage, and not experiencing gaps in coverage or loss of coverage, to where we are now, really operating in that space of what does equity look like in action. What does it look like, for organizations that are not just talking the talk of equity, but walking the walk
Yeah.
of equity, both internally and externally, and representing, those values, and where can we help to build capacity so that organizations can more equitably do their work. So yeah, that is definitely our priority, and where many of our strategic objectives are around now. And yeah, it's an exciting time to be a part of the organization, and then also just to see where the organization is going in terms of really more intentionally showing up in communities, having that presence in communities, meeting communities where they are, as we've seen over the past couple of years. You have to get flexible
Yeah.
about meeting people where they are. So doing more of that work, and then also just engaging with the community in intentional ways. So
Well, help us understand, why do you even need to exist, right? I mean,
mhm,
what there's, um, what's the state of healthcare equity in North Carolina right
mhm,
now? What does
mhm.
that look
Yeah.
like? And I know, I'm sure every county's different, but just kind of overall, what is, you know, are we, how far or how close are we to
Mhm.
achieving any sense of equity out there?
Yeah. Great question. So I think North Carolina has come a very long way. As a person that was born and raised, well, I was born actually in Alabama, but I only lived there the first 2 months of my life, so I don't fully claim Alabama. But yes, raised in North Carolina. I've seen North Carolina, my whole life, and I would definitely say, the progress and strides that have been made in this state are incredible, and not without the hard work of many organizations. And I think at CareShare, we operate on the understanding of equity being a process that we want to be incorporated for our state at all times, not necessarily like a destination. We have achieved equity. Every community is equitably being, we know that that's not necessarily possible to do, but where can we build in those processes of checking equity and processes of uplifting community voice and genuinely listening to communities as we reassess how equitably we're delivering services, and truly listen to their needs and adjust how we deliver services based on only things that have come in that the community has said that they needed. Not necessarily, those things that we think of on an individual perspective. Well, yeah, this would make my life and my health, or whatever that looks like better, but can't necessarily apply that, just generally to everybody. How do you really listen to what people need and adjust from there? So I think our perspective on, just where the state is in terms of equitably serving all North Carolinians, we've come a long way, but there is still opportunity to grow. And I think most what's coming to the top of mind right now, in particular, is like with the state's Healthy Opportunities pilot demonstration around social determinants of health, or social drivers of health, and how those show up and influence health outcomes, particularly with Medicaid populations of communities receiving Medicaid. And I think that in and of itself is indicative of like our state is on a very exciting precipice of where we can be in terms of equitably serving people. But it starts with listening to people, and showing up and meeting people where they are.
And can you give us kind of a practical example? And I might be putting you on the spot here, so if you can't, that's okay. But can you give us maybe a practical example of somewhere, a community, and whether you name it or not is up to you, but a community where there was some identified, and I'm guessing every community has some, but where you identified some real specific gaps in service and equity for that particular community, and just kind of how the work that you do and the partners that you have, how that is addressed just on a practical basis.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what's coming to mind right now is some work we actually engaged in Rockingham County throughout this year. So this was a Your Voice, Your Health project was the name of the project that we're have worked on / still working on a little bit there. But yes, within Rockingham County, essentially the issue that we were addressing with this project is medical mistrust. So around, community members, particularly Black and Brown community members, not feeling that level of trust to go to their providers, to go to their clinics, to go to their hospitals for having their health needs addressed. And, we know that this comes from a historical background of mistrust in a lot of Black and Brown communities with the medical system, but also recognizing, I think we worked with the Rockingham County Health Department directly on the project, as well as MDC Rural Forward and NC 100. But
and
the
Angel
need
Oak Creative.
And Angel Oak Creative as well.
I didn't prompt you for
y'all
that
were
one.
In the, yes.
But
Y'all were
I
on the
love that
project. I
project.
think
That was fun.
before we before I got on there. So I was like, oh, what, Angel Oak already made the splash page, the dashboard, everything. But yes, with that, the need arose basically out of Rockingham County Health Department, recognizing like, people, we have to address this issue of trust before we can just be out in the communities doing vaccine clinics, and like people are not going to show up if they don't trust it. So yeah, definitely definitely an exciting project and a very critical issue. I think that we worked on together there, and something too that like other counties in North Carolina are likely experiencing. So a model that could be applied,
Oh, that's great.
yeah. So I think
And
that's what's coming to mind 1st.
well, and it's got, I know one of the areas that you all focus on is that engagement and collaboration
Hmm.
with partner agencies, and like in Rockingham with the Department of Public Health and that side of things. Many nonprofits sadly are kind of territorial, right?
Hmm.
They limit themselves because they're not willing or able to find a way to partner.
Right.
How do you all do it so well? I mean, I've again, I've followed you for quite a while now, at least a few years, and I
Hmm.
know that that's something that you all do really well, is to develop and build those relationships with other organizations, either governmental or nonprofit. So what's the secret there? How can other nonprofits learn from what and I'm sure
Hmm.
not everyone has worked out 100% right or the way you want it to, but I know you do a great job of that. So what is that, kind of approach that you take that helps to foster those kind of relationships that are
Hmm.
mutually productive and supportive?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think, yeah, just with our mission being our heart and our center, collaborating for health equity, it leads every single thing that we do. I think even internally, to the point of like, I'm not working on a project by myself. By myself. I'm not working on a grant by myself. Like,
Yeah,
I'm like, hey, I need
that's
some
great.
help, and that's something that we definitely normalize within our internal work culture, which I feel like by internalizing it, that's what comes out externally as well. So I think as we approach I would say too, like we have a pretty well developed network already of partners. So we definitely look back to lean on that network of partners to introduce us to new partners at all
Yeah,
times.
that's
So I
great.
think, yeah, we're always very intentional about being inclusive of different perspectives. I lead some of our work with our collaborative on Medicaid transformation as well. And every single meeting, it's like, hey, if you see someone that need to be on this call, make sure you invite them for next time. So I think definitely just leading, all that we do with the intent to collaborate, and then also to in those partnerships and in the process of collaborating on projects. I think it's also very important to be transparent and be very
Yeah.
open about, here's why my organization is at the table. Here's exactly what we're trying to achieve with this. Here's a deliverable we need to hit, for our funders or whatever the case may
No
be.
hidden agendas, right? Yeah.
No hidden agendas. Exactly. Exactly. Because I think that really is the secret, secret kind of destroyer of collaborative energy and of that partnership, those hidden agendas. So just being
Yeah.
transparent and open, and like, I think that all of the work that we do it's on the website. There's nothing going on at CareShare that's, not out there. So we're very, very open about that inclusivity, and just trying to always welcome new perspectives.
No, that's great. Well, and again, I hope people will learn from your experience that, I mean, again, I know not every collaboration is perfect or comes out
Mhm.
exactly the way as planned, but it, and I know it's a little trite and cheesy, but I do believe we're better together, right?
Mhm.
That
Oh,
when we're working
absolutely.
together and bringing the
Mhm.
best of each of our missions, our organizations, our talent, all of those things that we have brought to bear, we're going to have better success, right? I mean, it's just
Exactly. Mhm.
I know I'm preaching to the
Yeah.
choir here, but I mean, it's
No, no, and I
yeah,
appreciate you saying that too, because I think also like, when we talk about equity, it's all a matter of like being appreciative of the rich and diverse experience, rich and
yeah,
diverse experiences, lived experiences that we all have to bring. And when we talk about equity and systems change, it's being very seeing where the commonalities are in terms of where the system isn't working, where the
Right.
system has harmed us, and that I do believe is a collective experience as well. So where we can band together and like, hey, actually the system, isn't working for me in that way either. Let's do something about it together.
Yeah,
Like you said, we're better together and we can go farther together. And
that's right.
change is way more sustainable together as well. So,
Well, we mentioned networks a little bit. I know one of the programs that you all focus on is your Equity Plus network. And
mhm,
can you explain a little bit about what that is and
yeah,
what that work looks like within our state?
absolutely. Yeah. Super excited to talk about Equity Plus Network. That was definitely one of our first, like, in the new strategic plan that we have. So this is a strategic plan that spans from 2023 to 2027. That
Wow.
was the first deliverable that we were like, whoo, we got something, we got something launched. It's out there. So yeah, definitely super excited about Equity Plus Network. Basically, in summary, the Equity Plus Network serves to be a hub for equity and action for community-based organizations that are looking to do their work more equitably, or that are specifically serving a need around those social drivers of health. So if you're a food serving organization, you're doing food boxes or delivering meals. We want to be able to have those conversations about, okay, where's the cultural awareness piece, so how are we designing those food boxes with people's cultural needs,
Yeah.
dietary needs, all of that in mind, so that when people are receiving these services, they're receiving it with dignity, and they're receiving it in a way, again, like the full circle to the top of our conversation, receiving it in a way that meets them where they are. Um, so, yes, basically for community-based organizations across North Carolina, we also realize that, specifically thinking in the nonprofit space, like you said, nonprofits can sometimes tend to operate in silos, or just yeah, not always see the potential for, okay, well, a nonprofit over here in this county, we might be serving different counties, but their model is like really serving their people really well. How can we collaborate to learn from that? And there's always something, I believe, in collaboration that is being taught on both sides.
Yeah.
Um, but yes, basically by creating a digital online resource for this, we're hoping that that is a way that can encourage some more of that cross collaboration among nonprofits and community-based organizations. Um, so we do have not just nonprofits on the Equity Plus network, which also too is another potential for different industries coming in with perspectives that can help serve community-based organizations. Excuse me. Um, sorry, I'm gonna restart that line.
Oh, you're fine.
But so yes, we're also thinking of other organizations that can come in and offer perspectives and thought partnerships to nonprofits and other community-based organizations. But yeah, really just a space to collaborate, to share best practices. We want it to be a learning tool. Within the Equity Plus network right now, we're working on building up our community resource map, which is a map of all community-based organizations and how they identify their services that they offer across the state, and it's broken out by county, with the idea that, if you're a nonprofit looking for another non-food nonprofit one county over, or just seeing who's in your region, that search feature allows that to be a little easier to hopefully see. And then also too, we want to encourage through our collaboration request form on the Equity Plus network. If you see an organization that's working a county over and CareShare can facilitate, and you want to know, what they're up to, learn a best practice from them, and CareShare can facilitate that introduction, that's something where like we can come in and offer our expertise and our
Yeah.
framework around collaboration to bring those orgs
Oh, that's
together.
great.
The times that we've done it and I've seen it, I'm like, it's so exciting, and just to see like organizations get excited too about like, wow, like I thought I was doing this work in a vacuum or doing this work in a black box, and like somebody out there is going through the same things that I'm going through. to see that happen is so rewarding.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're really grateful to be able to offer this for community-based organizations in North
Well, I
Carolina.
remember when Equity Plus Network launched, and
Yeah,
how grand the vision was, and it seems to be
yeah.
really coming together well.
Hmm.
If people get a chance to look at it, what's the URL for the Equity Plus
Yeah.
Network, just so we can
Yes.
make sure people can find it.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is equitypn.org. So, and we went with Equity Plus because we're talking about equity, but it's plus, it's beyond that. It's so much more.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and
yeah.
there for those, it's got a really great interactive map on there.
Mhm.
Jalah isn't paying me to promote this or anything, but I believe in it, so I want to let people know it's got a really great interactive map where you can find resources within your county. And if your organization isn't on there, they make it real easy for you to submit a little request that allows
Yeah.
you to ask to be included in the network. Anything else they need to do to be part of the network or to, get engaged with the network?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Just adding your organization to that resource map puts you on into the network. It will give you access to our newsletters that go out to Equity Plus Network, as well as our events page.
Oh,
And
that's
that's
great.
another space too, where we welcome, community-based organizations on the Equity Plus Network to add their events to the map with the idea as well, like, if a community-based organization that's looking to get connected just wants to see like what's going on this month, in North Carolina, we have that event calendar page feature as well to show
Well,
that.
and to me, your title is that Director of Innovation and Capacity Building, and to me this does both, right? It's innovative
Mm-hmm.
in the sense that it's helping to tear down the barriers between
Yeah.
um, communities that need to be served, and identifying that traditionally, in the past anyway, before some of these kind of networks and stuff, I mean, most people had to find out about it by word of mouth or by
Right.
referral from another agency, right? So now you're part of that equity is empowering with information, I think, and that's
Mm-hmm.
so important. I mean, we, as a communications and marketing firm, we believe in the power of information, right? And wanting to
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
free that information to as many
Yeah.
people as possible. So I think that that's a real asset that you're bringing with this Equity Plus network, and the fact that then it brings and opens up opportunities that maybe were unexpected about what that collaboration looks like. Is there,
Exactly.
again, I'm putting you on the spot, but is there an example of maybe an unexpected collaboration or kind of an
Mm.
unexpected relationship that came through discussions within the Equity Plus network?
Yeah. So yeah, one example that I can think of right away was actually between two education organizations focused on education and literacy. So we were having conversations. The organization names are Book Harvest and Cultivator. So shout out to y'all.
Yeah, yeah.
But Book Harvest, we were specifically having conversations with them actually about Equity Plus Network, what resources they would like to see there, and had a few meetings. And then in one meeting, we were like, actually, if y'all are thinking of a community where you might want to expand your programs into, like, we have a connection that we could make with Cultivator, with this organization. And Cultivator is a organization in Eastern North Carolina. So again, too, the work that they're doing there is definitely, I would say, within Eastern North Carolina, the nonprofit community-based organization and grassroots organization energy is really there, and we're really trying to build it up, build
Yeah.
capacity there. So we're like perfect relationship to make. Made the introductions over email. They had a meeting together, and they're actually, I think, have continued meeting and having conversations with one another. And then we found out after the first meeting with them, first introduction, they had been connected like years ago, before
Yeah.
pre-pandemic, years ago.
Interesting.
And just had, in that time, like, yeah, kind of fell off in communicating. But through that reconnection, they were like, oh, like I remember your program,
That's
like
great.
so we're so supportive of y'all's programs, and how can we help? What do you need? How can we be supporting you?
Oh, that's great.
So to see that, yeah, was really, really cool. And I think too, like it's again, because I'll say, speaking from from the perspective of like nonprofit work is not easy in terms of just the hats that you have to wear sometimes, the different
Yep.
hats. And sometimes like, you're just not thinking about like, oh, how do I need to be networking today? Or how do I need to be
Right.
like, really meeting people out in the community today? So if we can come in and kind of, easily add in something that's not adding anything to your plate, but is enhancing and
Yeah.
amplifying what you're trying to do, we will do that all day.
Yeah. And
We can do
and to me,
that.
that's that capacity building element, right?
Yes.
That
Mm-hmm.
hopefully the work that, is generated is multiplying the
Yes.
impact,
Yeah.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
that,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe it requires a little bit more work, but hopefully it's not an exponential increase, right? That the volume,
Exactly.
that the work produces, an
Mm-hmm.
exponential increase in the impact that you're making without increasing the work to that degree, because you're
Right.
leveraging the partnership, right? And
Mm-hmm.
what's already exists. You're not having
Yeah.
to create something new. And I think that's where nonprofits can learn a lot, is from
Mm-hmm.
other nonprofits, is you don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? You can,
Yeah.
somebody's already doing that. Let's
Mm-hmm.
partner together. You're still
Mm-hmm.
accomplishing your mission, even though you may not be getting the credit for it directly. You're still enabling that to happen,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to
Mm-hmm.
come back. I mean, I've seen it time and time again, where,
Absolutely.
it just makes total sense.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's I think the fruit of what can be produced of those kind of collaborations, um, it definitely is, yeah, like you're saying, like definitely is a overtime and over time, and with building at the speed of trust, and building
Yeah,
at the speed of what naturally flows. But I think it's just better. It's just
it
better to
is.
be in partnership. And you see in any other industry, partnerships happening, and so it's kind of like with nonprofits. Although capacity can be that challenge, it's so important for that collaboration to really be happening, because this is where the mission driven people
Right.
doing mission driven work
That's
are.
right.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
And,
I
and
think
if we
it's super
don't, we miss
important.
opportunities, right? And
Right, right.
it's so
Exactly.
critical for those
Mhm.
conversations to happen. Where, you know, every different community has its own challenges. I mean, you've got, you know, metropolitan inner city
Mhm.
kind of challenges, you've got rural community challenges, all of that. Um, you know, it can be overwhelming, right? I mean, it can be like, we're never going to get there. We're never,
Mhm.
equity's never going to, like you said, I mean, it's probably
Mhm.
not going to be achieved in our lifetime, right? But
Mhm.
how do you keep doing what you're doing, even in the face of those challenges? I mean, most nonprofit leaders get to a place, and sometimes they feel like, they're running in circles, or the
Mhm.
work that they're doing just can't keep up with the demand. How do you, within your network and within the folks that you work with, how do you keep people kind of encouraged and uplifted to
Yeah.
keep pursuing that mission, that vision?
Mhm. Yeah, that's a great question, and actually something that I personally am very passionate about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I just in the perspective of like, with nonprofit work, with mission driven work, it does require a certain level of empathy, compassion, and those particular, skills. Will say that they're skills. Um, Practicing that on a consistent basis, I think can take some out of us,
Yeah.
emotional, mental, energy. So I think that it is important to restore that and to normalize, taking the necessary breaks as needed, but with the intention we're taking the break to get back, get
Right.
back to continuing. And to view it, it's I think in terms of equity, like it's building a movement, building momentum for that movement at all times.
Yeah.
From the perspective of, there we have seen just over generations, like, different equity issues that have come up that deserve to be addressed and deserve to be, visited and solutions developed around them. So I think, from the perspective of, we know that issues of equity aren't going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah.
Where can we practice, I say for a lot of nonprofit organizations, if you have staff or those executing programs that are experiencing any levels of like compassion fatigue or empathy fatigue or burnout, to take that seriously and to take breaks as
Mm,
needed. I'm a strong believer in rest as a form of resistance to, just the hustle and grind culture that we can
yeah.
tend to operate within sometimes. And when you're thinking about it in terms of like equity, or having conversations about identity, like you don't we don't want to be having those conversations when we're burnt out and on our last straw, on our last brain cell of the day. Like,
Yeah.
no,
No, I
we want to
know.
be, yeah, we want to be pouring from a full or maybe at least half full cup,
We want to
cup
have
to have those
something to give
conversations.
back, right?
Something in there.
No, I
Yeah,
love that
exactly.
idea of, I love
Yeah.
the idea of it. I don't like the reality of it. I don't
Hmm.
think I've heard empathy fatigue in that
Hmm.
context. So I appreciate and that compassion fatigue.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd like
Hmm.
to think we have an endless supply of that, right?
Supply.
But
Hmm.
it's I think at some point there's, we may get jaded, we may just get
Yeah.
burnt out, we may get
Hmm.
tired, and
Hmm.
I know I've found with some of the nonprofit leaders that we've worked with, sabbaticals have been a really
Yes.
game changer for them. They'll go away for a
Hmm.
month. And I know it's
Hmm.
hard to think about people taking that time, but I've seen it be transformative for
Exactly.
leaders,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's like, because if your organization can't do without you for a month, then that needs to be another discussion, right?
But yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
um, so anyway, but no, thank you for
Yeah.
that reminder. I mean, I think people take for granted that, or maybe assume that it should just, they should always be on, right? And that's just
Hmm.
an
Hmm.
unrealistic expectation of
Yeah.
anybody,
Yeah. Yeah.
to be
Exactly.
there. So
Hmm.
thank you for that
Hmm.
reminder. I think
Absolutely.
hopefully some people who needed to hear that heard that. I'm sure there's some toes being stepped on right now,
Uh-huh. That's
uh,
okay. That's
including
okay.
mine,
Then,
including mine.
we might need to just go take a little power nap and come back.
Let's do it. Let's do it. So,
Yeah.
well, JLo, anything else that we want to make sure that we leave with our audience? Most of the folks who listen to this, at least our understanding, are other nonprofit leaders, other executive directors and development directors, and those sorts of folks. Anything that you want to leave with them
Yeah.
today to make sure they heard uh, you
Yeah.
know heard
Yeah.
your
Absolutely.
heard your encouragement and your other words of wisdom.
Yeah. Yeah. I think yeah, all I can think of for now is of course, visiting the Equity Plus network. So yeah, if you are a community-based organization, nonprofit, or just leader in North Carolina, we definitely it's in a space where we are building and adding to what's available on the network, to those resources there. So yeah, we are definitely still open to and welcoming, well, at all times, not still, but
Sure.
open to feedback and thoughts about what you'd like to see there.
And I hate to interrupt you, but real quick,
Mhm.
can you give either a few examples of the types of
Mhm.
organizations who would
Mhm.
fit into the network, or who you hope to maybe have more representation on the network that maybe are underrepresented?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So any community-based organizations doing work around, any social drivers of health. So whether that be food, transportation, housing,
Okay.
education. I know particularly, well, I think it's nationwide, but like in housing, that's definitely we would appreciate, some perspectives from housing serving
Yeah.
organizations, um, education, youth serving, violence prevention. I think those are just kind of some of the organizations that we have represented up there now.
Okay.
Um, but again, too, if you are doing any grassroots community serving work or community led work, we want your voice and we want your perspectives represented there. And then once checking out the network, once you've added your organization to the community resource map, we welcome a conversation. So utilizing our collaboration request form, we are happy to, you will directly be
Yeah.
speaking to CareShare leadership. So yeah, happy to have perspectives and, your thoughts around what equity in action looks like to you, in North Carolina, and how we can achieve that vision together, how we can collaborate to see
That's
that
great.
together. Mhm.
And if they just want to learn more about CareShare Health Alliance, where can they
Yeah.
go for that information?
Yeah. So our website is caresharehealth.org. And you can see, everything, like I mentioned, about our mission, vision, our strategic plan is up there as well.
Awesome.
So you can see our
Lots of
objectives.
transparency, I'm hearing.
Lots of transparency. Yep, yep. And I will share too, we do have two other networks. So our like I was mentioning earlier, our collaborative on Medicaid transformation.
Hmm.
I know a lot of community-based organizations actually have been getting coming to those meetings as of late, especially with Medicaid expansion coming to North Carolina in
Yeah,
December. We're really thinking a lot about, what is the outreach and education, or how can we support and amplify outreach and education around Medicaid expansion to ensure folks
that's
know their
great.
coverage options. Yeah, with that coming, very exciting for North Carolina.
That's great. Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for all the work that you do with CareShare Health Alliance and
Mhm.
Equity Plus Network, especially, but all the other work that you're doing. Grateful for your time here and all the other effort. Be sure you're taking care of yourself too. I don't
Thank
want
you.
I don't want you to get burnt out and
Yes, thank you.
not be available for us because you're such a great asset. So thank you for that. And, thank everybody for listening. You can hear more of our podcast episodes on Spotify and Apple. It's the State of Nonprofits. I'm sorry, the Nonprofit State of Minds podcast from Angel Oak Creative. So grateful for all the folks that we've talked to and had some great conversations. Thank you, Jalah, for that, and look forward to staying in touch. So keep up the great
Yeah,
work, and God bless you guys.
absolutely. Thanks, David.